Hello ladies and gents, kept you waiting, huh? Once again, thank you for your patience and let's get started. Today we'll be talking about The Evil Within again, and I strongly recommend you to watch the first part where I'm talking mostly about the mechanics of this game. I think I'll repeat it in future, but if you truly enjoyed this game, then I'm happy for you. Unfortunately, I cannot agree, because in some moments a player has to go through hell in order to understand what's happening in the game. The format of this video will be mostly like the previous one. We'll talk about almost every level and every enemy here. I say almost because a lot of mechanics and enemies may simply repeat, so I would waste too much time if I stopped and repeated the same thing all over again. So huge and major spoiler alert, if you haven't played this game and still want to do this for some reason, there's a chance to do it and come back after finishing it. Once again, welcome to Small Talk about The Evil Within. First of all, I would like to tell you that I understand that the creation of a game is a very tough and delicate process. I honestly do understand that. The thing I really love in this game is the attempts to bring some symbolism into it. You know, some Silent Hill vibes into the world of Resident Evil. Why am I comparing this game to Resident Evil? I mentioned it in the previous video, but the creator of this game was a producer or a director of the most Resident Evil games. And in The Evil Within, we're able to witness animations and complete places from his previous creations. Still, all monsters in this game have their own symbolism, and of course we'll talk about almost all of them here. I don't know about you, but I miss some psychological aspect and atmosphere in horror games. I mean, yeah, frictional games with their Amnesia and Red Barrels with their Outlast did a pretty good job there. They successfully combined a lot of great elements and aspects of horror genre in general together. In most cases, it means claustrophobic places with invulnerable enemy or enemies, sudden screamers, which I think is the cheapest and laziest way to scare players, a protagonist with Gordon Freeman syndrome and the impossibility to hold anything that could help him defend himself. That inspired other developers to experiment and create their own horror games, varying degrees of quality. I'm talking about my personal experience right now, but it may work from 2 to 5 times, then you're getting tired of this stuff. You start noticing patterns, adopted mechanics and behavior. Don't confuse it with references and inspiration, please. But symbolism works great in a solid story. It is able to expand the understanding of a given world around you. But if your understanding of a described world is not complete and you don't know the rules of this world, symbolism stops working or even starts working the opposite way, making your experience worse. This symbolism starts working another way around because you try to find an explanation for every single detail. And when you don't find it, the immersion and the whole suspension of disbelief ruins right in front of your eyes. For example, I still don't know what this green gel is really, but I would definitely like to know. I will repeat this through several times in the future, but this game had such a great potential. This could be the best horror game in a decade, but the game itself simply throws all good decisions away. I ask myself over and over, why did developers stop there? What led developers to the path they chose, and what motivated them to create the game we know now exactly as it is? I think you caught the glimpse of some broken and ineffective mechanics in the first part, but in this video we will continue talking not only about them but about the plot as well. Because there are hundreds of reviews that claim that even though the game may feel awkward and the mechanics are far from perfect, really far from perfect, the game is totally worth playing, at least due to this wonderfully crafted world and twisted plot. I should admit that the plot in this game is twisted indeed, and today we'll try to unravel it and build in our minds the understanding of the world and how it works. Several times in this video I'll have to jump forward and take out some information from there in order to structurize the plot better, otherwise it gets even more confusing. So Sebastian Castellanos, the main protagonist of this game, stumbles upon Marcelo Jimenez, and Jimenez gives us the first bit of information after like 7 hours of playing. Try to guess what's been happening around up until this moment. Why is this world so freaky and horrible?
We were working on a method. How can I explain this? It's like linking brains together. Sharing everything on an electrochemical level. Emotion, memory, perception, everything. Directly. It's unprecedented. The implications on psychology, on pharmaceuticals, on consciousness itself.
Are you serious? It's a fucking nightmare.
Well, I didn't say it was perfect. Especially not with such a unstable host.
Great. So your research partner is a psychopath. And we're all inside his head.
Not exactly, no. All of us are contributing on some level. But he's the only one with conscious influence.
Probably a lot of you who even didn't play this game expected this plot twist to some extent. Everything that's happening in this world is not real. Do you see the machine in front of us? It's called STEM. STEM is short for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. These are the citation of spheres responsible for technical progression in our world. I don't know about you, but in my opinion, STEM has a strong resemblance with the trunk of a tree and roots going down to the baths with some liquid in them and people who give their memories and energy to the machine itself. I mean, this machine could be anything from some wire attached to the head as in Matrix or like a helmet or a separate sort of incubators, but no, designers decided to make STEM like this. This one could be a reference to the Kabbalah tree of life and death. At first I even thought that the baths may represent the circles of that tree, but I was wrong. This could be a coincidence, but in The Evil Within 2, the world of STEM is called Union and has an emblem of a tree. Besides, STEM has a literal meaning of some part of a tree. So this piece of the plot definitely explains some aspects of the game to us, like the appearance of zombie-like creatures, why the transitions between two levels are total crap, and why the world transforms all the time. Right now, minds of the main characters are intertwined with Ruvik's mind, and we're all connected to STEM. As you've probably guessed already, Ruvik is the main antagonist. His true name is Ruben Victoriano, but after some horrible events, he started calling himself Ruvik. A lot of people thought that the name Ruvik is a combination of his first and last names, but actually, as developers claim, it comes from association with Rubik's Cube because of his deep knowledge of traps and interesting personality. We definitely heard that this machine needs a host, the main mind, to rule them all. Besides, she should keep his or her sanity and stay alive after coming back from STEM, because dozens of subjects simply lose their minds or literally die there. From this monologue we find out that all members are able to bring something of their own in the world of STEM, but we don't know to what extent. We still don't know the rules of the world inside STEM and how exactly it works. Why is Ruvik doing this? I mean, what are Ruvik's and Jimenez's motivations? Where did this machine come from exactly? We'll get some answers, but not all of them, of course. Then some Crash Bandicoot gameplay happens and we find ourselves in our hub again. After another transition, we find ourselves near this big and beautiful mansion. Did I tell you that this game was directed by Shinji Mikami? The director of the first and fourth Resident Evil and a producer of other Resident Evil games. Yes? Well, that's exactly how many times the game shows me the assets of his previous creations. I even think that at some point the game was supposed to be another Resident Evil, but developers decided to change the course and turn it into something new. This is the place where Ruben used to live with his parents and sister. We have to open the main door that's blocked by 3 locks. We have to follow the tubes and find a way to open the door. This is one of the greatest levels in this game. It definitely has problems which I'll describe, but this place is rather claustrophobic and dark. The atmosphere is really thick. There are ordinary zombies here that may seem like a threat. Seem like a threat because sometimes the game leads you in a wrong way. Just like in some previous levels, there are specific places where Sebastian is able to hide. You subconsciously think that there may be some invulnerable enemy you can't kill. Yes, indeed, sometimes Ruvik randomly spawns and tries to insta-kill us. At first you think, wow, can't believe that the game returned to hide and seek again after 7 hours of playing and 5 hours of shooting. The problem is that these hides don't really work. You can run really far away, but Ruvik doesn't even try to pretend that he doesn't know where you are. You think, okay, maybe I should kill him. But as I've already said, he's immortal here and insta-kills you as soon as he comes close. The only true tactic here is to run around and stall for time until he disappears. No need to fool him around, no need to hide, no need to waste your ammo. You just have to wait until he disappears. That's it. Why is this game trying to confuse me for no reason? Why are there wardrobes and beds I can use to hide? I have no idea. And it's not the only level. We'll be able to witness these beds and wardrobes in other levels, but I'll be smart enough to ignore them. I mean, yeah, you can hide from ordinary zombies, but that's a total waste of time. We find a way to open the door. All we have to do here is to put some needles into living heads and the door will open. At least it looks cool. Unfortunately, in my opinion, it's a total waste of resources and potential because these heads could be easily replaced with simple levers. These heads could be so much more interesting. Imagine this, maybe Rubik talked to these heads, maybe they could tell us more about themselves and about Ruvik's character. Maybe one of these heads could be this wife who decided to find her husband we read in the note. Or you could stimulate some parts of their brains responsible for different feelings in order to hear some short stories, from the perspective of a person who's really frightened or relaxed or angry. And we had to decide, for example, what's true and what's not. Would not that be more interesting? All you have to do here is stick a needle and go find another head. Wow, I guess, but again, at least it looks cool. During these wandering, we find some talking and moving ghosts, and these are the representation of memories. For example, from this scene...
What did I just set in motion?
Is this, what did you call it, your inner sanctum? A research lab of your own? I am most impressed.
Why are you back? I didn't give you permission.
Come now, we're both men of science. Men of science are dedicated to the pursuit of knowledge. You can show me your experiments. I can show you things.
You wouldn't like them. You'd think they're gross.
In science, one must do any number of things a layperson may find disgusting. I've done many things others would consider distasteful.
You think I'm some kind of a monster?
You concern yourself so much with your appearance, but that mind of yours, that's all that matters.
That's Marcello. Is that Ruvik with him?
We find out that Ruben has always been a smart boy and was clearly interested in slicing other living organisms like animals and people. Jimenez, instead of being shocked, decided that it would be a great idea to provide Ruben with people from his hospital for horrible and torturous experiments. What was the motivation of Jimenez again? He couldn't possibly know that Ruben would invent STEM years later. Then why? Apparently, he thought that it would be a gesture of gratitude to his father, who regularly sends extremely generous donations to the hospital. And this fact alone, even aside his motivation, makes you ask questions. Jimenez has been providing Ruben with people for years, and Ruben's parents didn't know about that. There were dozens of dead people. Can you imagine the smell in that mansion? What did Ruben do to all those dead bodies? From one of the newspapers, we find out that there were at least 4 corpses found near the mansion. Slightly later, we find out that Sebastian lost his child in a fire, and in the context of this game, it doesn't make any sense. Again, for now, we pretend that there is no second part because, as I said in the previous video, I'm 99% sure that there was supposed to be no second part. Some may say that the loss of his child made a great psychological impact on Seb. His wife left him and he became an alcoholic. But again, these facts don't change anything in terms of character development. In fact, if he were a simple detective with a strict moral code and a sense of justice, it would fit the story much better in my opinion. Here I'll have to slightly jump forward and back in order to structurize the whole narration better. What was the motivation of Ruben to create STEM? What happened to him and his body that made him so vengeful and furious? Let me explain. As I've already mentioned, Ruben had a sister, Laura. She is presented to us as a girl in a red dress with long black hair. One day, Ruben and Laura were playing in a barn and some village people decided to teach, quote, these rich bastards a lesson and burn one of Victoriano's properties to the ground.
Rich bastards think they can buy up all our land.
They need to be shown who really owns these parts.
Again, we have no idea what these rich bastards did to them. No conflicts, no arguments, no backgrounds, nothing.
Hey, I think there's kids in there.
I didn't hear anything.
Anyway, Laura helped Ruben escape with severe burns, but unfortunately she gave her life for it.
Ruben, you have to climb.
You may think that after that Ruben's parents were devastated, but still happy that at least Ruben survived. No. Ruben's father decided to tell everyone, including his own wife, that his son got missing or even died, and locked him down in the basement. Again, why? Why was he doing that to his own son? At least someone had to take care of severely burnt Ruben, because apparently he had to endure several surgeries in order to survive and have the appearance he has now. So at least someone had to know about this. I seriously doubt that Ruben's father had skills to install that plastic thing into his head. We can be sure that Ruben's mother didn't know anything about a live Ruben because of one of those notes and one dialogue between spouses.
Beatrice, please. You must eat. You've got to keep your strength up.
My children. I want...
Beatrice, we have been through this.
Sometimes I hear his voice. The basement. He sounds so close.
There is nothing down there. How can I be any more clear?
Then why is it locked shut? Why can't I go down there?
Ruben was happy with Laura. To say the least, Ruben loved her very much. Probably even too much for a brother if you ask me. For example, we find this note. Maybe I'm imagining things, but that's my opinion. By the way, this unravel spirit is a subconscious representation of his sister and bears the name Laura. Besides, do you remember how I mentioned newspapers? Sometimes this information cannot be trusted. For example, if you try to recreate chronology of events according to the newspapers, you will notice that Sebastian lost his child in the fire on the 3rd of December 1996. But his own diary tells us that the fire happened on the 11th of February 2012. You see this gap between dates? Even this fact alone makes you doubt the right sequence of events here. By the way, the model of Laura describes that she died at the age of 17. But one of the newspapers claims that Laura was left in the vegetative state. Some people think that it adds controversy, but I don't really see why. She could survive the fire, was carried to a hospital, stayed there in the vegetative state, and die sometime later at the age of 17. But still, I don't know how her dad managed to hide this fact, and for God's sake, why he did this. One day, Ruben manages to escape and kills his own parents.
Oh, Father. If you only knew how satisfying that look on your face is. Did you actually think if you locked me away, I would just cease to exist? Out of sight, out of mind. You did. You did. Didn't you? Oh, you were never out of my mind. I hope you're proud of yourselves.
Once again, the guy who was supposed to be dead, with a horribly deformed face and body, turns out to be alive, and sometime later his parents die. Not suspicious at all. Maybe, at some point, this family decided to become hermits. They didn't have to go outside ever, buy or order food, or communicate with other world for the rest of their lives. Otherwise, someone would totally notice that the members of the richest family around seem to be missing or something like that. Including Jimenez, who doesn't seem to know that Rubik's parents died, for example. Also, for some reason, he's not surprised that Rubik is alive, although his father claimed that both his children died in the fire.
The hospital has not received the family's usual donation this year.
And why would they? Has the hospital been doing anything worthy of donation?
The Victoriano family has always been a generous contributor. Where are your parents?
They have gone away.
When do you expect them?
Is there something you wish to discuss, Doctor?
I came to inform you that the hospital will no longer be able to provide you with assistance. Materials. Your research will very quickly disintegrate.
How dare you come into my home and threaten me?
Wikipedia says that later Ruvik took control of the family funds and continued his experiments. Okay, for the last time, the guy who was supposed to be dead, and literally officially rises from dead, asks to take control over the funds of his family because his parents suddenly died? And I'm almost sure that they didn't manage to draw up a will. I can make a bet that they didn't expect to die at that specific moment when Ruvik killed them. Can you imagine how hard it would be to perform such a thing even with living parents? And don't even get me started on explaining the whole process with dead parents, come on. Was there any investigation at all? From this dialogue we've learned that Jimenez decides not to provide Ruvik with new test subjects without donations. But events of the game contradict with the described dialogue, or maybe they made a compromise. Because we know that after some time Ruvik is going to move to Beacon and continue his experiments. What is Ruvik's motivation in all this? According to his character, it's quite doubtful that he decided to do something for the sake of other people or science. He was trying to create this machine in order to create a perfect world for him and his dead sister and stay in this world forever. Jimenez knew about this machine and decided to publicize some articles about STEM. You can imagine what kind of impact such a machine would perform on the world. Meanwhile, STEM is really close to being completed. I have to remind you that the main and probably the most important nuance of this machine is that it needs a host. These articles were discovered by a certain Mobius organization. For now, just keep the name of this organization in mind, that's enough for now. Apparently after that, Mobius invests into the creation of this machine. Ruvik, being not so happy about the fact that Jimenez used his research and published his work without permission to achieve fame, money, and feeling the betrayal of Jimenez, makes the machine work only with Ruvik's brainwaves. In other words, only Ruvik is able to use this machine and no one else. Mobius, being not so pleased with such circumstances, let's say finds a way to use it. Let's stop here for a while and come back to the plot at the right moment. For now, let's get back to the game. We witness... I don't really know what this thing is. I mean, probably it's some dark side of Ruvik's memories or something like that. I think at this point creators were probably too tired or too bored to create something interesting or original, really. Because bosses in this game are cool, but this... meh, because there is even no explanation what or who this boss is. It makes us run through some kind of a maze with traps where locks cannot be destroyed by a melee attack. Although in the whole game we could do that up until this very moment and find ourselves in the barn where Ruben and Lara are supposed to be burnt. We see this red cloud of particles and this boss fight is bad. Because this area is small. If you were under the impression that this is a survival horror, you don't have many bullets. There's fire everywhere, Cloud spawns waves of monsters and tries to kill you along with them, and you have no idea what you should do next. At first I tried to kill the Cloud, but I had no reaction to my shooting. Am I doing damage or not? What am I supposed to do? Should I just avoid and run in circles in order to pass this segment? Should I waste my ammo and kill all nearby enemies? Should I find some elevator, pull the lever, or open the door? No indication, nothing. At the end of this extremely engaging and breathtaking boss fight, the ghost of Lara dies, the red cloud gets distracted and tells us this phrase. What does this mean exactly? Why is this sentence here? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, we didn't do anything. It was not Sebastian who burned the barn. Or was he? You see, in the official art book, Shinji Mikami writes that in an earlier draft of the story, Sebastian was among those people who burned the barn. And in this case, it totally makes sense. Even one cutscene, this one indirectly makes sense. He probably feels guilty and accepts this fire as a punishment. But again, Sebastian was not near that barn, damn it! The only thing that's happening here is total confusion and misunderstanding of the scene. Why is this phrase here? Why was it so hard to remove it? There is even no lip sync here to justify this decision. The flashback ends, the game throws us back to the mansion, then Seb is teleported again to another segment with this in it. Okay, I do not know about you, but I have a very strong impression that I clearly should utilize stealth here. I mean, there are a lot of covers here. It's dark, only 1 or 2 zombies seen. It fits much better than just rush and kill everyone on the level. First of all, check this out. I'll pronounce it just in case someone can't see the difference. When your lamp is on, you are able to see the threads with traps, but if your lamp is off, you'll stumble upon these traps, set the alarm up, and won't even realize what you did wrong.
This is insane.
Although there are red lamps over there and for some reason they don't seem to work the way our magic lamp does. I hope you can see the problem here. The level that clearly hints us to use stealth and not draw enemies' attention with light puts traps on your way which are invisible unless you use the light. Yes, zombies react to the light completely randomly, but probably you don't know about that during your first walkthrough. Besides, it made me think, What does it mean? It means that my light is able to transform this reality and show hidden objects or something? I decided to check it, and maybe I'm not too attentive, but after playing this game several times, this is the only place where your lamp shows something that is not visible by a naked eye. What happens if you fail and make a mistake? If you still fail and draw enemies' attention, you'll hear the siren. 2 zombies upstairs will wake up with sniper rifles, and a huge blade that instantly kills you starts spinning. At first, I tried several times to pass the segment without being noticed, because of the lack of bullets, and I thought that I would be able to take control of that blade and make it work according to my will. I expected something like this. I thought that I would be able to somehow allure all enemies near the blade and manually turn the blade on. Well, at least in my head, it makes sense. It would be a reward for our stealth and patience. Sounds legit and interesting, right? The game thinks that it doesn't, because no matter how many times you try, no matter how many times you die, the siren turns on in any case, and you will be noticed. I mean, it's clearly scripted in the game. Why? Again, a complete waste of potential, although the game had all possible resources in the world to make this segment much more interesting. Slightly later, we witness another big monster. I'm still not sure whether I can call it a boss or not, but his name is Trauma, and this one is a creature born from Ruvik's presentation of death and rebirth. Besides, even if you don't know the description of this monster, you'll probably have some thought about religion because of the shape of this monster that resembles a cross. This one doesn't have any specific or interesting patterns, this is just a sponge for damage again. If you remember, I've already told you that during my first walkthrough I tried to upgrade everything that would increase my survival ability. So I didn't have neither bullets nor damage from those bullets, so during my first walkthrough I wasted all my ammo here. And although this game uses the dynamic drop just like in Resident Evil 4, the game doesn't seem to care. The game may give you gel several times in a row. Once again, I think that the possibility to buy bullets and healing syringes would fit here perfectly and add depth to the whole gameplay in general. Yes, in this case you can run around and avoid this boss fight. Trauma will forget about you soon enough. You go slightly forward, and what do we see here? Another trauma! I mean, I wasted all my ammo in the first fight, and here's another one? What could possibly be worse than that? How about 2 traumas, this game says. Are you f***ing kidding me? This enemy's placement is ridiculous! Even 1 trauma would be a pain, and there are 2 of them now, in a place where you're not able to maneuver properly, and you probably don't have any ammo. This corridor is narrow, and I just can't run around them. Besides, this is the video from my 3rd walkthrough, and I still die here several times, although I've almost completely upgraded damage here. Can you imagine the pain I had during my first walkthrough? After losing several thousand glial cells of the brain, guess who we meet again? Yes, it's Laura again, and I'm really getting tired of this. I thought that we killed her, but now we have to set her on fire over and over again. Besides, this camera sucks. Why does it suck? Because when you aim at the lever, Laura is completely out of your field of vision. Keeping in mind that she insta-kills you, this can be lethal and you have to start it all over again. In the end, we finally cut her arms with an elevator? This fight leads us to this cutscene where Ruvik appears and tells us that he knows who we are and will make us do something.
Who do you think you are? I know who you are. Seb. I know what you crave, what you fear. Will you be able to live with yourself knowing what I'm gonna make you do? Poor little Joseph couldn't. Too bad they dragged you into this. But either way, you're mine. To do with as I please.
To tell you the truth, I have no idea what he's talking about here, even now. He says that he knows who we are. What? Again, when I played this game for the first time, I was totally under the impression that Sebastian did something horrible, or he had some dark secrets that led to this scenario, but no. Again, if we pretend for a second that Seb was one of the guys who burnt the barn, it would make sense, but he didn't. Ruvik tells us that he would make us do something, but no. He won't make us do anything. Ever. He mentioned Joseph there, but as far as I remember, Joseph didn't even mention Ruvik. I'm still not sure whether he actually met him. Once more, everything this game is trying to do is to be pretentious and act like there is something deep inside this genius plot. But we clearly see that it's not. We witness another cutscene where Leslie lies on the table and Jimenez is trying to do something to him.
Think you're doing?
Trying to save us.
Really? Because it looks like you're making another monster to me.
I don't have time for this, Detective.
Neither do I.
Leslie has been here before and made it back. He survived being linked to Ruvik, the only patient ever as far as I know.
Wonderful. What does that have to do with any of this?
He's our way out, Detective. Our only way back.
That sound!
No, it's working. Oh, thank God it's working.
We see that reality transforms but comes back to being an awful game again, and the doctor is sincerely surprised by this fact.
Are you alright?
It should have. Why didn't it?
Then Jimenez sees a huge monster and says,
That's it. That's why.
Doctor, run!
He wants the same thing as us. He wants out.
For some reason, the game clearly expects us to make the same conclusion as Jimenez did. Surprisingly, it doesn't happen. I don't have the slightest idea why the machine didn't work, or why it should have worked, or at least what Doc was trying to do. I mean, Jimenez clearly tried to end this game, but got surprised and realized something after seeing that huge monster. Maybe it didn't work because of Ruvik, who blocked the signal with the power of his will. Well, maybe, but we already know that Ruvik is capable of doing such things. He's almost God inside STEM, and the doctor knows that better than anyone else. But Jimenez was sincerely surprised when he saw the monster, so it means that the monster is the reason. The name of this monster is Amalgam Alpha, and this one is another conglomeration of people who died in STEM. I hope you can see how well-thought bosses with detailed explanations slowly turn into "this one is another creature born by sick minds and hatred of Ruvik." I think at this point I'll tell you another piece of plot and explain what Leslie is doing here. Let me remind you where we stopped. Ruvik makes STEM work only with his brainwaves, and Mobius is clearly not happy with that. At first they tried to find another person with similar brainwaves. Here Leslie comes along. His brainwaves are almost identical to Ruvik's, but he's not as stable as Ruvik. He experienced the same psychological trauma as Ruvik. Leslie's family was murdered in front of him when he was a child. This trauma from this event makes his brainwaves correlate with Ruvik, due to Ruvik losing his sister. So Leslie is easily able to connect to STEM and get out of there without losing his mind and not dead. But still, Leslie is not good enough, and in Chapter 14, we see how Jimenez brings some Mobius agents with him, and they take Ruvik away. Since Ruvik was against letting anyone else use STEM, Mobius decided to forcefully take his brains out and put them into a jar to use as the main core of the machine. But, as you probably remember, Ruvik's consciousness started to manipulate and corrupt STEM from the inside. So this whole world is a combination of emotions, memories, perceptions, and events of Ruvik and people who ever happened to be connected to STEM. And since Ruvik's and Leslie's brainwaves are more or less identical, Ruvik wants to override his personality onto Leslie's and leave STEM. Slightly later we meet this guy. Sebastian was able to meet him several times, but his only duty is to confuse players. That's why I didn't mention him. He used to be a reporter and was getting closer and closer to unraveling the truth about Ruvik's experiments. He didn't survive this knowledge, but his monologue is really interesting. He says,
Ruvik must be really pissed now. Breaking a STEM terminal? Never thought he'd go that far.
What does this mean exactly? As far as I have understood, STEM terminal is one of those baths connected to STEM. How did Ruvik manage to break it? I mean, he's now able to break terminals outside STEM in the real world? He could do that? If it's true, then it turns the whole scenario upside down, because if he is able to do that, why couldn't he and still can't just destroy all STEM terminals except Leslie's and perform this fusion thing? He doesn't need anyone here except Leslie. Then why can't he just simply do the same thing he did with police officers at the beginning of the game? Wait a second, police officers in the beginning. We were in the real world at that time, right? And they still died. Or not. Besides, when were Seb and his party connected to STEM exactly? In order to at least approximately understand what was happening in that short scene, we'll have to slightly touch DLC here. Yeah, I remember that I told that we would not talk about DLC on the second Evil Within here, but we really need some information from DLC right now. In DLC, we find out that after completion of STEM, Jimenez was less and less needed by Mobius, but he wanted to prove them wrong. In Ruvik's documents, he found a way to launch STEM wirelessly, and he did exactly this. DLC gives reasons to think that the moment when Sebastian and his team got sucked into STEM is exactly this moment.
God damn it. Jesus!
You see this sound we may hear several times in the game. And starting from this moment, we are in STEM already. During the game, we could clearly see how the world of STEM deforms or completely changes after this sound. But let's get back to our topic. How did these 3 police officers die? Because our detectives were going to investigate the massacre. This exact massacre. So the piles of dead bodies were supposed to be there before we came to Beacon. But we see these police officers being killed right now. So the camera is showing us what's happening in real life. Because we're supposed to be in STEM right now, not in the real world. Or what is it showing exactly? Is that what Ruvik wants us to see? But later we witness the same episode as if we were there from the start. What is it? A recreated memory? But why here? Why now? Is it possible that the immersion is not happening instantly? It's happening slowly, blurring the line between the real world and STEM. But in the context of this storytelling, it doesn't change anything. What is this game trying to tell me? What the hell is going on? Well, at first I thought that it was a hallucination to confuse us, but these exact bodies will lie on the floor when we finish the game. They will lie in the exact same corridor, so it means that Ruvik is able to kill in real world. Okay, let's pretend for a second that Ruvik sensed the presence of Sebastian and his party inside STEM. So, instead of just killing all of us like he did with everybody else, he cared this much to create a complete copy of Beacon with victims and security room, turned the video record Ruvik wanted to confuse us with on exactly at the moment when Sebastian was watching. Seriously? Well, here's my best guess with massive plot holes to explain the situation. STEM starts to work. Dead people, police officers arrive at Beacon, Sebastian and party were sent to investigate, sucked into STEM, saw the police officers. I've read all notes and listened to all dialogues, but I still don't know how exactly this machine works. That's why this one is only a speculation. At first I thought that STEM emits some waves once to suck all nearby people into its madness. But what if maybe, just maybe, STEM constantly emits waves that influence the mind of nearby people and suck them into STEM. It means that Jimenez turned the machine on. Ruvik started killing everyone around in STEM. And we know that if you die in STEM, then you die in real life. But again, another controversy. We saw blood all over the place when we came to Beacon, and if people died the same way in reality as they were killed in STEM, then why Jimenez is in one piece and doesn't have any blood there? He literally got smashed by Amalgam Alpha. Probably on our way, Sebastian and his team were being slowly sucked into STEM and saw dead bodies which were dead both in STEM and the real world. But who called the police? Jimenez? But how? I mean, he was supposed to be connected to STEM. I definitely lack information here, and there are some huge plot holes. But the fact that STEM is constantly working, sucking everyone who comes near it, indirectly explains one more detail closer to the end of the game. What I'm trying to say here is that I hope you understand how brainwashing this single episode can be. And to tell you the truth, it doesn't even influence the plot. It just distracts me from what's left of narration in this game. Besides, Rubik was able to kill dozens of people inside STEM, but he cannot kill Sebastian and Joseph for some reason? Kidman is a slightly different topic. I read such an excuse that Rubik has always been using mentally unstable people in his experiments, or he stimulated their brains in a special way. That's why he's not able to do anything to our heroes. Sort of, their psyche is the most stable in this game. So you want to tell me that he's not able to harm and kill an alcoholic? A guy who feels normal only while wearing his glasses he got from his grandfather, and a woman who was clearly traumatized by her childhood and parents. But Rubik is able to easily kill a bunch of trained police officers and Beacon personnel who've been working with mentally unstable people for years? Okay, maybe he keeps our heroes alive intentionally. Interesting hypothesis, but no. Through the whole story, we don't even have a slightest clue or evidence that would prove to us that we've been doing something Rubik wanted us to do. My best guess is the keyword here, is that Sebastian is less manipulated by Rubik because Seb, just like Rubik, lost his sibling in a fire, his daughter to be specific. But again, why is there no evidence that Sebastian can somehow manipulate matter in the world of STEM just like Leslie can? Besides, police officers, patients, and Beacon personnel are the only one who got sucked into STEM. I mean, the radius of the signal looked like pretty damn big, and if all nearby people were sucked into STEM, we would see several hundred dead bodies. Someone may say that those farmers we saw in the beginning and all zombies are the citizens, but that completely contradicts the way our heroes and other people experience the transition. Your appearance doesn't change, you wear the same clothes and behave as a human being, at least at first. You don't even realize that something's wrong. But again, it contradicts how Jimenez died. It means that someone physically killed everyone in Beacon in the real world and then turned STEM on. The only person left alive here is Jimenez, right? So the game wants to tell me that he's the one who killed everyone there and turned STEM on. But that cannot be true because DLC proves me wrong. What the f*** is happening here? For God's sake, Tango Gameworks, the creation of games is art. Not some bullshit to throw at me. Appreciate the art. Alright, let's continue. I hope you see that this plot is a horribly written, distracting, torn, and incoherent rambling. You have to literally unravel the whole enigma of scriptwriters' thoughts to understand what's happening in their heads and what drugs they used in order to create this hell of a plot. I seriously do not understand how people point at this game and say that this is a firm and confident plot. Don't get me wrong, I don't ask for every single detail to be explained. But here, I'm not able to connect the dots of the story. I'm not able to see even a part of the whole picture. Someone may say, "Pfft, you idiot. When you're asleep, can you logically explain what's happening in your own dreams? And those unfair and completely broken mechanics with no attempts to keep the tension and atmosphere of survival horror are totally created to make a challenge for players." Sure. No, I cannot control stories in my dreams. A scriptwriter, however, can control the flow of the story and its pacing. A script for a good video game, book, or movie is something that's created by people. It's not something that chaotically appears after someone throws a pancake at you. And yeah, that's a dream and the plot is great. Maybe that's why the only thing this DLC is trying to do is to spile as many plot holes as possible. And that's a huge problem in my perspective. I mean, yeah, the gaming industry nowadays can become rather immodest, trying to balance their games in such a way to make people buy microtransactions and releasing AAA early access games, but here, In order to understand our original game better, you have to buy 2 DLC and spend from 4 to 6 hours in it. Cool, huh? DLC should expand the understanding of a game and its universe. It should be completely optional. In this case, it seems like The Evil Within was split into 3 episodes, and you must play them all in order to understand the plot better. Someone may say that they completely understood the plot right from the beginning, because everything is logically explained. Well, good for you, I guess. I mean, this is internet, and why would anyone here not tell the truth, right? But I'm completely, 100% sure that not everyone will have such a smooth experience, because I didn't. Here we meet Amalgam Alpha, the creature that killed Jimenez. I died so many times here, you cannot even imagine. The environment includes cars you can hide under, it has some red barrels that never hit the target, even Amalgam may literally stand on one of those, and a couple of rooms you can hide in for some time and gather some resources. The reason why this boss fight can become a pain is that you're unable to run away from this boss. You cannot hold the distance because it's too fast. You cannot hide under cars properly because it sees you. You cannot hide in those rooms for too long because it chases you. If you did not upgrade your stamina here, you will die, and die a lot. Still, I love the image of this monster. It has this eye which is a weak spot, and it has 2 forms, and in the second form it can insta-kill you. After defeating it, we witness the city that's almost destroyed in the mind of Ruvik. Starting from this point, Sebastian will be able to witness more and more zombies with masks on them. These masks are made from porcelain or ceramic, and Sebastian is not able to shoot it through, even at point-blank range. Are you f***ing kidding me? Yes, it has some Japanese style and notes of craziness. Even if these masks are made from titanium, they can stand several harpoon shots in a row. Why Sebastian is not able to pick up a mask and use it as a protection? Because this game is amazing. Why don't all zombies with infinite ammo drop bullets after they die? On this level, we see a lot of zombies that look like police officers. How have they become so clever? Why are they wearing police clothes? It's speculation time! We remember that STEM probably covers a certain area with its Wi-Fi signal. These are the police officers who came before us, because we saw a lot of police cars but only 3 police officers. And police officers who were still coming to investigate the massacre after Sebastian. Probably when dozens of officers started losing their minds or die, military forces realized that it's probably better just to hold the line of the signal and wait until somebody destroys the source of these waves from the inside. The following segment is probably one of the worst in the game. Everything is bad here. The placement of enemies, art design, dynamic drop, the whole level design and atmosphere are completely fucked up. Again, I have no idea what this level is doing here and what it should add to my gameplay experience. What's wrong with this level? Let's have a look. Again, if you try to play this game as a survival horror, then you'll be desperate to find some bullets. Your enemies who are now able to shoot explosive bombs just like you, but have infinite ammo come from this cage. But as long as you try to come closer in order not to waste your ammo, the door closes right in front of you. Why is it a problem? Because if you don't have bullets, you won't have a chance to pass through. You'll keep dying over and over again until game deigns to give you freaking bullets. Your choices are extremely limited here. You should just let zombies kill you and try again. And yes, Sebastian is not able to pick a rifle from a dead zombie, although it could solve the problem. And these zombies simply appear from there for about 5 minutes. They are probably coming from the top, but I cannot throw a couple of grenades there and just kill all of them. You just shoot and freaking shoot. Why is it supposed to be interesting? What else could be done here instead of the shooting? Developers could easily get rid of that pit and turned it into a big arena with a lot of covers and pipes you can hide in, which are already on the level. Well, I don't know, maybe you know what could be done here instead of this degenerate and pathetic decision. After going forward, we see this shit. This game transforms into a rail shooter, and I'm not kidding. This game, the game that pretended to be a survival horror, transforms into a rail shooter. We'll touch this topic slightly later after one more ridiculous segment. Later we witness this creature. Its name is Shigyo, and I'm not quite sure, but this name is probably the combination of 2 Japanese kanji, shi, death, and gyo, fish. I'm not quite sure since I couldn't find the proper kanji spelling. But this is a representation of people who got drowned into STEM somehow. In order to pass these segments, you have to distract it/them with corpses hanging over there. Did I tell you that this game completely ignores your personal experience? You see, at first I thought that I had to be extremely accurate in order to cut the rope and make the corpse fall. Well, because it makes sense, you cut the rope and the corpse falls. I wasted my ammo almost completely here. I thought that maybe that was because I completely ignored the accuracy upgrade. But no, in order to make the rope cut, you had to shoot the corpse to make it fall. I mean, in Metal Gear Solid 3 you could cut the rope, and that game was released in 2004. 2004, Carl! Besides, you cannot say for sure whether that shark thing is distracted or not. That's really inconvenient. On this level we're able to witness this enemy. Its name is Doppelganger, and it's able to spawn Lara's hands from the ground, but if they catch you, you're 100% dead. This is one of the most annoying enemies in this game, in my opinion. Anyway, you see Kidman, who asks for help. I tried to help her, thinking that she will help me back at distracting those swimming creatures from me.
Help! There's too many of them!
But no, she continues to hold the air. We pass this segment, meet Kidman, and this happens.
Sebastian? What is...
Stay back.
This video gives us a hint that Kidman probably shot Sebastian in his face, but several seconds later Sebastian wakes up as if nothing happened. Who was she aiming at? After playing DLC and hearing this extremely blurry dialogue...
What is this? Did you shoot me?
You started turning into a monster. You attacked me. I'm sorry, but you're tainted now. You might try to stop me through you.
Wait, what are you talking about?
I sincerely don't understand why is it so hard to just stop for a couple of minutes and explain Sebastian everything that's happening here. On the next level we're not allowed to shoot because of gas, and the only thing I love about this stage is the direction of a cutscene if you still decide to shoot. This jump cut is amazing. Sebastian meets Joseph, and the only thing we learn from him is that it wasn't easy to get here. Nice piece of information. I'm not interested in hearing whether you saw Rubik or Kidman, whether you found any valuable information about what's happening here. Sebastian is not interested in telling Joseph what he found out about Rubik, his family, Kidman who tried to shoot us. No, it wasn't easy. Luckily for us, Joseph found probably the only working bus in the hood, but Kidman played GTA 5 too much, I guess. We're followed by Heresy. I'm not sure, but this could be a reference to Gyo manga. I wouldn't dare show you screenshots from it, but the position of pipes and head causes some associations. Again, you can waste all your ammo here, but only later find out that you could just stand still and do nothing. Luckily for us, it spawns some leeches, and after killing them, we may find some bullets and green gel. There are too many bullets here. Try to guess what will happen several minutes later! On our way, Joseph, being a detective, tells us that there's something strange about that beacon lighthouse, because wherever you go, you're able to see it. Good job, Sherlock. Apparently you have to be a detective to come to this conclusion. Starting from this moment, after 13 hours of playing, at least somebody from this party has some kind of reasonable and adequate plan. I'm terrified to think how you've worked as detectives with such deduction. Here Joseph just had to catch a bullet with his useless body, and now we have to go over there to get some first aid for him. Again, why Seb just can't touch his shoulder and heal him just like he could every goddamn time Joseph had injuries? Why now do we have to go through a field of zombies and get the first aid there? Because this game and its plot are amazing. This whole thing is supposed to smoothly lead us to the moment where we're able to do this. Yeah, we see that at this point this game decided to destroy boundaries and limitations. Someone may even enjoy these possibilities and lack of any tone here. I mean, if the game didn't take it too seriously and wasn't so pretentious trying to prove me that it has a strong plot, firm pacing and adequate narration, I would probably even appreciate it. Someone may even compare this game to Resident Evil 7, for example, because it had a slightly similar pacing. The first part of the game, it was more of a horror, the second part was more of a survival, and the third part was more like a shooter. And I do love Resident Evil 7, really. Do you know why this approach worked in Resident Evil 7? I mean, besides the fact that this game is polished and designed 100 times better than The Evil Within, and it has clear resemblance with Silent Hill's PT. First of all, because a lot of people got tired of just playing hide and seek. It worked because for the first time in many years, in such a deep and horrifying atmosphere, we had a weapon to deal with our enemies. But most of all, it worked because we had a protagonist who probably took a weapon for the first time in his life, and he had to survive. He had to become better, and we could witness this transformation. He was an ordinary guy, not a detective who's been working for years but able to carry only 5 matches and run for 3 freaking seconds. Besides, the transition between these segments was much smoother. In The Evil Within, it's just a chaos of mechanics. The game throws these mechanics at you for 2 minutes, but 5 minutes later you forget about them, because they don't receive any continuation or development. And the following scene will prove it once more. Now this game turns into racing for a minute, and will not be able to drive any other vehicle anymore. Neither this game, nor DLC. Give me one good reason why this segment is here besides the attempts to lengthen the game process. What's next? Tear? After this extremely spectacular ride, this cutscene shows this. We see how Ruvik easily lifts the whole bus with our heroes into the air. We're able to see that even if these guys may have a healthy psyche, Ruvik can easily manipulate the environment around them at any time. Why does he let them live? Why is he not killing them? He needs only Leslie. These 3 guys don't even know what they're doing here. Well, probably except Kidman. We witness a whole bunch of levels that could be easily removed and the game would become better. Then we meet Kidman and Joseph again, and Kidman is trying to kill Leslie? Why? Because buy our DLC and everything is logically explained. I'm not even sure whether it was supposed to be a twist or not, but at that moment I was so hollow inside I didn't really care. Seriously, the explanation would take a minute. Why can't they just stop for a minute and talk? Even if they don't have a chance to talk, Kidman, you have orders. You don't have to persuade anyone here, just shoot and end this game.
You don't understand what Ruvik is after.
So tell me, what is he after?
He's after Leslie.
What, he needs to finish his science project?
Don't patronize me. I have orders. I can't let him have this boy. Leslie is the only one he can...
But of course Kidman misses and shoots Joseph. You may think that I'm getting tired of this stuff, but the following level has nothing unusual or interesting, except for this segment. It's just like the moment with the blade. At first you think that you will be probably able to kill everyone in stealth. I mean, there are hanging people over there, some traps and all that, but no, the best tactics is to shoot, shoot, and shoot. Then we meet this boss named Quell. He's able to become invisible, and it's described as Ruvik's desire to remain unseen by others. It's not interesting to fight him really. If it sticks to the wall, it becomes invisible and spawns some leeches just like the spider boss we saw earlier, and they crawl towards you. Thanks to this, we can easily track where Quell is situated. Or it can jump and hide in those pipes in the ceiling. And then the reporter tells us to be afraid of Ruvik's eye, but he doesn't tell which one exactly. Then look at this level. I want to play a little game with you. What do you expect from this level? There are a lot of stairs here, places where you have to climb up, some spikes and blood at the bottom. You probably expect that this game will be based on verticality. Maybe some acid will be coming from the bottom. I mean, we saw acid in this game. But no, a bunch of zombies with another boss at the end. Who the boss might be? The sadist. With a rocket launcher. It's the 4th time we see this boss. What's next? 2 keepers? I could witness 2 traumas already, why the hell not? You know, I've been completely sure that Keeper was a manifestation of Ruvik's desire to keep his secrets. Now apparently he has 2 desires to keep his secrets. Well, maybe it's just a reference to Silent Hill 2, where the protagonist meets 2 pyramid heads, but I'm not sure. Finally, we're on the finish line. Leslie is coming closer to Ruvik. But no one gives a shit because both Kidman and Sebastian are holding guns, but apparently don't want to accomplish the mission they've been trying to for 15 hours. They decide to stand and watch. Ruvik accomplishes what he's been trying to do, and our heroes do not manage to stop him. Cool, huh? So Ruvik devours Leslie, and now, finally you think that Ruvik will end this mess? No. He gives Seb a chance to escape, take a rocket launcher, and kill him. I'm really happy if you enjoyed this game. I am, really. There's another game right now that makes me feel something similar, and if it continues to follow the path it's going now, I'll probably create a video like this again. In my opinion, this could be one of the best games in the genre. But something just went wrong. I don't know exactly what happened, whether it intended to be like this or not. Horrible controls, inconvenient camera, lack of balance, the absence of atmosphere, horrible plot, no character development or voice acting, no character you can sympathize with, or the main villain you can hate. These characters are passengers in their own story. I honestly admire the work of designers and artists in the game though. This is truly amazing. And I'm really glad developers decided to add some symbolism into this game, although it doesn't accomplish its function. At first you think, wow, this looks like an interesting and cool plot here. I love this kind of stuff. But the more you play, the more questions you start to ask, the easier the ugly truth reveals. You were tricked and fooled. The game throws hints and baits for you, but the reward is not satisfaction after solving a puzzle, but anger and frustration. Oh wait, there's another cutscene. We wake up in the bath, although we were sucked into STEM via Wi-Fi. If I'm right, then some people brought us here instead of just leaving us. Kidman tells us to pretend dead. Apparently Seb falls asleep, wakes up, sees those 3 police officers and goes out. Do you remember when I told you that STEM probably constantly emits Wi-Fi signal? This is obliquely proved by this scene. We see SWAT coming in only now, and it's dark outside. Probably SWAT has been waiting outside STEM signal all this time. We see Leslie languidly walking outside for some reason. I mean, there were dozens of Mobius workers when we woke up, and all of them were after this boy. They literally sent Kidman to capture him, didn't they? Why are they letting him get away? Or is it a hallucination? I do not know. The ending is a mess. And this is another proof how much authors didn't care about your experience and the game, The Evil Within.